For the second straight series, people started asking questions after a tough game 4 of these Phoenix Suns. And for the second straight series, the Phoenix Suns responded in a resounding game 5 win, 110-80, a blowout here in Phoenix as the Mavericks go down. How did the Suns turn it around, and what does it mean for the rest of the series and the rest of the playoffs? We'll talk about it all on today's Locked On Suns.
You are Locked On Suns, your daily Phoenix Suns podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
We are back. This is Locked On Phoenix Suns. We are part of the Locked On Podcast Network, and I'm your host, Brendon Kleen, a credentialed media member covering the Suns for the past 5 seasons and a contributor at Suns.com as well as Dime Magazine. Thank you for making Locked On Suns your first listen today and every day. We're everywhere, podcast platforms, YouTube, all of it, and we are free. The best way to keep us free and to support the show is to hit that subscribe button, that follow button, wherever you are finding the show. And if you're on YouTube, leave a comment down below. Let me know what you think went right in Game 5. Throw a Go Suns in there. Go to the Locked On Mavs YouTube feed. Drop a Go Suns in their video as well. This is a day to celebrate for Suns fans. You all already know that. I'm sure you're chugged out. I'm sure you are waking up a little groggy. Maybe you're still awake and hitting play here. Welcome one, welcome all. Hello. 30-point win. Obviously a tremendous night, a tremendous response from the Suns, and we're going to break it all down. 110-80 is the score. That's the obvious place to start. But you look a little bit further down the box score, and Devin Booker was absolutely magnificent. And I wonder and I worry if his performance will get lost a little bit because the stats don't jump out. He didn't have a triple-double. He didn't even break 30 points. But first, he sat most of the fourth quarter. He didn't score in the fourth quarter. So really, he did all of this damage, 28 points for him in about 30 or so minutes played, really, in the competitive part of the game. He was a plus 25. So you look, when he was out there, the Suns were outscoring the opponent by 25 points. When Chris Paul was out there, it was just plus 7. So when Landry Shamet was out there, just a plus 4. So you look at it from any angle, and Booker was a clear, huge positive for this team. He scored 8 of the Suns' first 13 points. He had 12 overall in the first quarter. It was a little bit of an uneven first quarter. The Suns got out to an early lead, but then the Mavs actually led for most of that frame. And if not for Booker, and it wasn't just Booker making shots. It wasn't just scoring plain out. It was getting to his spots, making obscenely difficult mid-range jumpers over solid defense. It's not like he was breaking guys' ankles and taking open mid-rangers. And he just was relentless. Like, if anybody came out ready for this game, it was Devin Booker. He continued that with a huge third quarter. He also was a key part of a 10-2 Suns run to close the first half. And then the third quarter, which I'll talk about in a second, it went along with both the defense and the pace, which are the other two things I'm going to hit on, but I'll save that for a second. This to me was a game from Booker that is up there with the best ones he's ever played in his career when you just consider the stakes and I don't want to say he didn't get a ton of help, but he was really the only guy out there creating shots for himself in this game. Chris Paul was not really active as a scorer. Mikal Bridges and Deandre Ayton were mostly finishers in this game, whether that was transition or the ways that Ayton gets offense, post, seals, lobs, things like that. Cameron Payne did not play in this game, which we'll talk about. Landry Shamet was not really creating. So Booker was basically the only person on this team who was creating for himself, and he was also creating for others, which I'll get to. And the Suns had a 118 offensive rating. They scored 110 points after not barely cracking 100 in the past two. Slow pace, remember, also. So Booker's, I mean, the need that the Suns had for this from him was about as high as it possibly could have been. The stakes of the game were about as high as they possibly could have been, and Booker answered. The other thing that made this so incredible from him is exactly some of what I was just getting at from a rotation standpoint. So Chris Paul did bounce back in terms of he didn't foul out. He played 35 minutes. He wasn't completely clean on the turnover stuff. He had 4. He played far too loose in that first quarter. He made one particularly bad mistake right at the beginning of the first quarter before Monty called the timeout. And yet, he was better, but not awesome. Behind him, though, you had no Cameron Payne, Monty going away from a backup point guard completely in this game, and Landry Shamet basically filling all of those minutes. So Shamet ends up playing 19 minutes, but he's not really a point guard. What ends up happening is that Devin Booker becomes the backup point guard. And honestly, even when Chris Paul is out there, you see Booker initiating a ton of offense because Reggie Bullock is again pressing Chris Paul basically the entire length of the court. So the Suns are needing someone else to bring the ball up, someone else to initiate. And more often than not, that was Booker. Or it was somebody else who then gave the ball to Booker. Or it was Paul who then gave the ball to Booker. So much ran through Book tonight. And you look at the assist number for him, just 2. It feels like he probably, just was out there scoring. But this was not game, 4 of the finals or game 6 of the finals last year where Booker's just getting his and it's actually playing into the defense's hand. 2 assists is not the amount of offense that Booker created for his teammates tonight. I actually would say that, Shamet had 4 assists. I would guess many of those came, not many, maybe 1 or 2 of those came from plays where Booker actually broke down the defense and then Shamet was able to attack and really get that last pass to the open man. Crowder had 2 assists. Ayton had 2 assists. The ball movement overall led to 28 Suns assists, and I would venture to say that a good portion of that was initiated by Booker in the first place. So the amount that was asked of him, again, and the stakes of the game, you combine those 2 things, this is on par with Game 6 against the Lakers last year, which I still think was probably the best game of his career. The Clippers, Game 1, he has a triple-double, only 2 turnovers. That has to be up there. Played 44 minutes in that one, played 46 minutes against the Lakers in that closeout game. He also is having to continue to defend. He's defending Brunson. He's defending Luka. He's holding up. He's doing his job on the defensive end. Is he an incredible elite defender? No, but he's very clearly above average and making an impact, and he's doing all of that on offense. I mean, the Suns needed to be ready in this game. They kind of weren't to open game 1, open the first quarter. They were very much so in the third quarter to really blow the game open. And both of those moments, Booker was the best thing happening. In the first quarter, it was kind of the only good thing happening was his scoring. In the third quarter, he was the impetus, the sun where everything was orbiting around to get the Suns to the finish line and take a lead that they would not give up in a 33-14 third quarter. Booker is the best player on this team. He is one of the best players left in the playoffs. He reminded us of that in the biggest moment of the Suns season. What more can you say? But I do want to talk about that third quarter a little bit more. I want to talk about pace a little bit more. We'll look at the Dallas side of things, and then we'll close out with some more specifics on the defense, which the Suns were able to turn around, obviously. First, though, guys, today's show brought to you by Athletic Greens and their new delicious, nutritious AG1 daily supplement. We have all across the network been using AG1 every single day. They gave us a big tub of it. I'm not going to lie to you. I sometimes will, maybe I'll do a 3/4 of a scoop or something like that because I want to save this stuff because it really is making a difference. With one delicious scoop of AG1, you're absorbing 75 high-quality vitamins, minerals, whole food source superfoods, probiotics, and adaptogens to start your day right. That special blend supports your gut health, nervous system, immune system, and much, much more. Again, one scoop, bottle of water, shake it up, and you're good to go. Costs you less than $3 a day. You're investing in your health, and it's cheaper than that daily coffee habit. It's cheaper than mixing and matching all those supplements for sure. And again, an investment in an all-in-one nutrition insurance for your body. You don't have to find the right this and the right that and this pill and that pill and, oh, I'm going to take this as a drink. I'm going to go get my energy shot from here. I'm going to go take a, whatever. It's all there. One scoop, shaken in some water, and that's that. Right now, it's time to reclaim that health. Arm your immune system with convenient daily nutrition. One scoop of water a day. No need for a million different pills and supplements just to make sure your health is in the right place. And to make it easy, Athletic Greens is giving you a free 1-year supply of immune-supporting vitamin D and 5 free travel packs with your first purchase. All you have to do is visit athleticgreens.com/NBA network. That's athleticgreens.com/NBA network to take ownership over your health and pick up the ultimate daily nutrition insurance. I said going into Game 5, as I was previewing the game on the podcast, the team that has controlled the pace, that has been the most efficient transition offense, has won every game. Of course, being the home team probably goes hand in hand with that. Your role players are more likely to hit shots. You feel a little bit more comfortable. The crowd is behind you. All of those things I do think factor into being able to play at the pace you want to play at. But nevertheless, the Suns did that tonight, and it's no surprise that they won the game. They had 11 fast break points. At the end of the competitive portion of the game, I checked the transition stats. These are on cleaningtheglass.com, which is a nerdy database of all the play data that happens in NBA games. And they were in transition. They were logging transition possessions more than 15% of the time during the competitive portion of the game. They had an incredible offensive rating of like 130, 140, which is basically, think about that as 1.3, 1.4 points per possession. That means better than a free throw, much better than a free throw. I guess a trip to the free throw line is about that. If you're a 75% free throw shooter, you're going to get 1.5 points per possession if you go to the free throw line. So the Suns were approaching that in transition, which is very, very good. And they were running a lot. Now, by the end of this game, it's a little bit less in terms of frequency, a little bit less in terms of efficiency, but the Suns still very clearly outperformed the Mavs in that statistic. Back to that third quarter, the Suns forced Dallas into 12 turnovers, 7 of which came off of steals. So if you look more closely at just the steal data, the Suns were scoring 1.7 points per possession when they got a steal. Now, of course, you're probably thinking, well, duh, if you get a steal, you're just going to take it straight to the basket. Yeah, most teams do, but the Suns were particularly great at it. Dallas's 12 turnovers, I have this statistic, this was from ESPN Stats and Info, was most in one quarter in the NBA playoffs by any team since 2012. That is how ugly things got for Dallas. 12 of their 16 turnovers came in that third quarter. The thing I love about the NBA, about basketball in general, but especially the playoffs, is how things are interconnected, right? So much of what you want to look at is like, okay, well, the Suns needed to contain the Mavs three-point shooters, right? They needed to get Bridges and Ayton going, get Chris Paul going, right? They needed to jumpstart their offense, turn the ball over less. All of that is all connected to each other, right? So pace-wise, being able to turn defense into offense, being able to get into rhythm better. Okay, well, that's easier if three-point shots, which are going to be long shots, are bouncing off the basket, bouncing off the rim. Those are going to be long rebounds that you can take to the other side. When you do run Well, your role players are going to be in position to score a little bit better. Bridges is going to get a dunk in transition. He's going to get an open corner three. Deandre Ayton is going to get fed a little bit more easily when the half court offense isn't getting clogged and the Mavs aren't able to send help. All of these things are all interconnected. But the Suns did a very good job at especially those steals where Luka is playing hot potato at the end of a possession. The Suns were just pouncing on those, getting in those passing lanes, getting deflections in all of those types of situations. That was really the biggest key. You had Bridges with 4 steals. A lot of that was him doing that stuff. And they were just relentless getting to the basket. I want to say they had, let me see here, 17 shots at the rim. They made 12 of them. That is 70.6%. That's better than average. And the Mavs were only 7 of 12 at the rim. I mean, that's 5 extra shots right there. That's 10 extra points. That's, a big difference in this game. And a lot of that is coming. We know the Suns don't attack the basket very much in the half court. So a lot of that's coming just in transition. And it's so much easier to do when you don't have a Giannis on your team, or you don't have a LeBron James on your team who can get to the basket at will. The easy way to do that is to run. So I just think that was a huge part of this. And it was also something of the Mavs not being able to do it. The Suns only shot 49%. The Suns had 12 turnovers of their own, and the Mavs just did not run. And I think you see that affecting somebody like Spencer Dinwiddie, who, hasn't been elite in this series, but he's been making a difference when he's out there because he is able to play with good pace, and he's 0 of 3 tonight. You see Finney-Smith and Bullock not making their threes despite playing a lot together. They had 35-plus minutes apiece. They combined to shoot 2 of 8 from 3. They're not even getting those looks because, again, you're not going to get as easy shots if you're playing in the half court every time. When you look at Brunson and Luka having 8 turnovers, that's a lot to me because the Mavs are not running. So Haralabos Voulgaris had some of the numbers, although it was in, a random portion of the game when I think it was after the third quarter, potentially. No, it was at the half. Mavericks played a full 2.5 seconds slower than the Suns on offense, meaning the amount of time that they were taking up per possession was 2.5 seconds fewer per possession over the course of the entire first half. The Suns were only using 12 seconds of the shot clock after Dallas misses. So they were also not just on steals, but they were running after misses. And then every single time, without fail, Dallas would just roll the ball up the floor. And I think that's a big reason why you were seeing Luka settle for tough shots, why he did not look himself, why the role players didn't look as good, is the Mavs were just slow, just unbearably slow. The other thing we have to talk about here is the defense. What adjustments did the Suns make? How did the rotation changes help? And can it continue? Or is it just that every single game is going to be the best performance from the role players is going to come from the home team, and that's going to result in a win? I do think that there's a lot to parse there, so I want to close out the show talking about that. First, though, guys, today's show brought to you by Built Bar. As I told you, I'm pulling the trigger. There's no other protein bars on sale right now anywhere. There's no other ones that I trust to be delicious. I go to the grocery store and it's slim pickings, just like a bunch of stuff is right now. And it's like, do I really want to chance this? Do I really want to risk that this is not going to taste good, that this is going to be chalky, that this is going to be hard to chew, it's going to be a flavor I don't like? No, I don't. So I placed my order of Built Bars today. Luckily, I went on the website, built.com. There's a Built Puff, which is the first ever protein-infused marshmallow. It's basically, think of it like, what is it, a Cadbury? No, not a Cadbury egg. The Santas. What are the Santas that have the marshmallows inside? Imagine that, but protein. And I'm looking at peanut butter, but the one that I bought today was birthday cake. 16 grams of protein, 9 grams of sugar, 150 calories in every bar. Packed with protein. Somehow they do it. They come up with these delicious flavors. They put them into a bar, and they're delicious every single time. They're good for you every single time. They get you that power up that you need. Go to Built.com, guys. Check out the latest flavors. You constantly have to be updating. Use the promo code LOCK15 when you make your purchase to get 15% off your next order. Again, that's promo code LOCKed15 for 15% off at built.com. Okay, defense. So I've already hinted at some of it, right? But I think the bottom line when it comes to the defensive performance tonight is that the individual players just executed. I mean, that sounds so basic, and I have to admit that like some of the more deep adjustment stuff that happened, I will be more than happy to dig through tomorrow when I hopefully have a chance to rewatch the game, or at least rewatch some of the highlights, rewatch the third quarter, some of the big moments, because to me, what it really felt like it came down to is discipline, effort, and intensity. I mean, I think most of the time that's all defense is. Like, I saw some people even after games 3 and 4 that were like, and this is not to say it's not true. Of course it's true. You know, the Mavs are doing off-ball screens to get their shooters open. They are, moving their floor spacers around the floor in interesting ways to get them open. They are, being so inventive and innovative and changing up so much. And they were. I mean, obviously, credit to the coaching staff. The Mavs figured some things out on offense, especially with Brunson. He was bad in games 1 and 2, but he proved again tonight that he's going to be somebody the Suns at least have to worry about. I don't think he was awesome today by any means. He got a lot of his points at the end of the third quarter when the game was already a 20-point game. But the Mavs did do stuff to get better, to change things up on offense, to get more open shots, especially for their role players. But to me, this has always come down to, can the Suns do enough to make Luka settle for bad shots or be forced into bad shots? And can they do enough to make the role players uncomfortable and out of rhythm? I mean, and that a lot of it just comes down to, again, discipline, intensity, and what did I say? Focus? I don't even remember now. That said, a few things were different, okay? So one thing Monty Williams talked about is trusting the man on the ball, especially with Luka, to contain, and that reinforces the help rules, basically, that the Suns have established. So there's a lot of times, because, again, the Mavs are pretty smart about how they space the floor, where the best person to be helping on Luka, especially sort of like in those top of the key isolation situations, where the person that's helping is usually one pass away right to a shooter on the wing. So if you send that helper way too early, then you're going to leave a person one pass away from Luka right there to have an open three. But if you do that, if you tease it a little bit, am I coming, am I not coming? You trust that the man guarding Luka is still going to be able to contain him, then the help and the double teams and things like that can be used as like those kind of rhythm jabs as part of what you're doing on defense, right? It's like, where's the help coming from? Is the help coming? It's kind of what the Suns were doing against Nikola Jokic last year, where it was like, okay, if Ayton can just hold his ground, not allow Jokic to just bowl him over, then, maybe one time we'll bring a double when there's 10 seconds on the clock, or we'll bring a double when Jokic gets within this many feet of the basket. Or maybe this time we won't bring a double at all. Or maybe this time we'll, send somebody to kind of pester and then recover. Like, you can mix things up, but you have to trust that the man guarding Luka has it under control. And obviously it's good when that guy actually does have it under control. And Mikal did for a lot of the night. But I think that helped in terms of being able to help on Luka while still recovering to shooters and just having more discipline with that stuff. But as I just said, it helped when the person could actually hold up. And I think more than anyone else on this team, two specific guys deserve the biggest shout out when it comes to holding up against Luka, specifically on the ball in isolation situations. And to me, again, that is just about effort. effort and intensity, coming and deciding. It's exactly what Luka got so much credit for in game 3 when everybody was like, all he had to do was just take ownership of it and sort of come ready to play. Well, I don't know if he's been doing that quite as much. The Suns haven't been attacking him in such obvious ways, but I think he's still a weak link defensively. In this case, the Suns just had to make themselves not weak links defensively. And what happened is the two guys I was talking about, Cam Johnson and Bismack Biyombo, okay? Because I think most of the time in the Suns starting lineup, even when the Mavs are going at Chris Paul, he's between the strength that he has, his quick hands, and his ability to draw charges. Like that's a 50-50 proposition at best, scoring against, getting an easy shot off against Chris Paul. It had to come down to those other guys, and Cam Johnson and Bismack Biyombo did it. One isn't actually Biyombo like stepping up after playing poorly himself. It's what he was able to do in place of JaVale McGee. And we all knew from the jump, Biyombo being able to dance out there with Luka and just get a hand up, get a contest, not be blown by. All of that was going to make a big difference. And credit to Monty for going with it. It went basically, it went very well, I would say. I'm not trying to take away and just be like, yeah, that's what he should have done. Credit where credit's due. But I think most of us expected that if Biyombo got a chance, he could hold up defensively. Offensively, he dropped some pick and roll passes in the third quarter that were a little frustrating to watch. Cam Johnson, though, I was singing his praises online during the game because he came and it felt like a different player out there when he was isolated against Luka. He did not give up ground in the post. Remember how, even in games 1 and 2, Luka was sending Cam Johnson to the ground in the post, just shoulder, and he's barreling him down. Cam just said no. I think Luka was tired in this game. He made poor, shot selection choices. He's continuing to make some of those weird passes at the very end of the shot clock when he's in midair that are going nowhere. But I also think Cam deserves a ton of credit because there were times when Luka still did try that, and Cam just didn't give up ground. And then once Luka knows, hey, I'm not going to be able to necessarily move you in the post, that's tiring. It's tiring to fight somebody like that over and over and over, even if you do theoretically have an advantage on him from a size and strength standpoint. So then Luka starts to, again, settle, and Cam just stayed with him again. You could see Luka, okay, I'm not taking you into the post. You've shown me you can handle that. Let me try to drive past you. Let me try to catch you on a step back with my handle, cross you over and step back for a three. I don't remember any plays where Cam Johnson was taken advantage of by Luka. And considering there was like several in every single game up to this point, and it was an obvious mismatch, not only by Luka, but even Spencer Dinwiddie, I've talked about, was taking advantage of Cam in some of those bench lineups. And Cam just came to play tonight. He was a plus 15. That was third best on the team behind Booker, the fourth best behind Booker, Bridges, and Biyombo, who were kind of the other obvious standouts in this game. Then Cam also had 14 points. He had a dunk. He was very, very good. And on a night when Jay Crowder had foul trouble, especially, it was pretty important. So again, intensity, effort, discipline. But that said, there were still some schematic or at least like mindset changes that went into that. It wasn't just roll the ball out and the Suns just kind of figured it out, so to speak. No, obviously they did some things a lot better. I also felt like Ayton wasn't out of position quite as much. Their transition defense was much better, partially again because the Mavs weren't really running at all. But I didn't feel like Ayton was getting in that awkward situation where he had to close out to shooters quite as much. The Suns didn't play as much zone. I said I thought we might see more. I'm an idiot. I don't know anything about basketball. So the caveat that Monty Williams, much smarter than me, figured some things out. Kudos to the coach of the year. He outsmarted your local podcaster here. But look, the bottom line is the Suns, through 2 series, have been the better team. Nothing has scared me away from feeling that way. Them just playing the way that they are capable of playing, getting back to their principles, executing at a high level the way we know they can. That was always going to be the recipe. We'll get to a Warriors series next, potentially, and it'll be a bigger rise to the occasion type of thing. In this series, it's about doing what they do. And tonight they did that. I do want to give one last shout out again to Monty Williams, who was able to, come into this game knowing Biyombo was going to be a better option with those switches against Luka, knowing that Cam Payne was a detriment to the team, and having the confidence in himself and in the group to be able to handle that. And going to Landry, who somehow came out with a fire underneath of him and played probably the most confident, aggressive game that we've seen in months, if not all season. I like the box score will not show this outside of the 4 assists, which I think are pretty impressive, and the 4 free throws. Those were not like, fouling or take fouls or, in the bonus type stuff. Those were Landry Shamet drawing fouls on 2 possessions. That's a crazy thing that happened. He took a heat check 3 in the third quarter of a big playoff game. And Monty, had the confidence that unit would work with Booker as sort of the point guard, combo guard, and Shamet, the other guy out there with him. That worked to perfection. So Monty did come out and make a lot of the adjustments that we knew the Suns needed to make, and the result's a 30-point win. So I'll break down this game in a little bit more detail, what went right, what can be sustainable, but the Suns have a chance once again to close a game out, a series out on the road in the Game 6 here in Dallas on Thursday night. So I'll get you ready for that one tomorrow, but just revel in this, guys. It's a special team that can go out and consistently execute in these huge moments. They didn't leave anything to be questioned in this game. They knew they had to win this one, and they completely won this one. All right, that'll do it, guys. Thank you for making Locked On Suns your first listen. Don't forget to leave a comment below letting me know what you think went right in Game 5. Leave a comment on the Mavs channel saying go Suns. And now go make Locked On NBA your second listen to get caught up on the other series around the league.